Most cat owners searching for a natural way to handle fleas and ticks are reading advice that was written for dogs, and that mismatch can genuinely hurt a cat. Nobody tells them a cat's body can't process half of what's perfectly safe to put on a dog. So what happens when someone who's raised barn cats her whole life finally lays out exactly what's safe and exactly what almost got used on her own cat by mistake? My name is Rachel Stoltzfus. I've grown up around barn cats my whole life, the kind that live half outside and pick up fleas and the occasional tick every summer without fail. I want to tell you about the afternoon I nearly reached for the wrong bottle, because it's the reason I started keeping a very short, very specific list taped inside the cupboard. We just treated our dog for fleas with a spot-on product from the feed store, and our barn cat was scratching something fierce that same week. I nearly used the leftover on her too. Same problem, same solution, or so I thought. My aunt caught me before I did it and told me plainly that what's safe on a dog can kill a cat, and she wasn't exaggerating. Some of the strongest dog flea treatments contain a chemical called permethrin, and it's genuinely one of the most common and dangerous poisonings a cat can suffer, sometimes fatal, because a cat's liver simply cannot break it down the way a dog's can. That's not a careless owner problem. That's a labeling problem. Products sit side by side on the same shelf, dog and cat, looking nearly interchangeable. And most of what gets shared online as a natural home remedy was written with a dog in mind, then passed along as if cats and dogs were the same animal. They are not when it comes to what their bodies can safely handle. Quick word before I go further. The old methods my family uses, there is more of it than fits in any one video. I gathered the whole of it into a book you can buy in our pinned comment below. The book is the long version. If you want it, it is there. I will not mention it again. Here's the truth that should reframe how you look at every flea remedy you find from here on. A cat's liver is missing an enzyme most mammals use to break down many plant oils and common chemical compounds, which means things that are mild on a dog or even on a person can build up in a cat's system instead of clearing out. That's why essential oils, cedarwood, clove, lemongrass, the exact kind of thing you'd spray on a porch for mosquitoes, have no safe place directly on or around a cat. And it's why garlic, sometimes suggested as a natural flea deterrent, is actually on the list of foods that can poison a cat's blood. The safest system for a cat isn't a stronger natural oil. It's almost entirely mechanical, and that's exactly what I'm going to walk you through. The first thing, before any step at all, is the one rule I want burned into your memory. Never use a dog flea or tick product on a cat, not a leftover spot-on, not a dog shampoo, not a dog collar, not even a small amount you think might be diluted enough. If a label doesn't specifically say cat, it doesn't go anywhere near your cat. The second step is the flea comb, and it's the cheapest, safest tool in this entire system. A fine-toothed metal flea comb costs about $5 to $10 and does real physical work, pulling fleas, flea eggs, and flea dirt straight out of the coat. The trick is combing over a light-colored towel or paper towel so you can actually see what's coming off, and dropping anything you catch straight into a cup of soapy water, which drowns fleas on contact. Daily combing during a bad flea season catches far more than people expect, because you're removing the problem directly rather than hoping a product handles it passively. The third step is washing everything your cat sleeps and lounges on, weekly, in the hottest water the fabric can handle. Flea eggs and larvae live in bedding far more than people realize, and heat is what actually kills them, not just the wash cycle alone. The trick is including anything soft your cat regularly lies on, not just the designated bed, because a favorite blanket or the corner of a couch cushion holds just as many eggs as the bed itself. The fourth step is vacuuming. And I want you to start treating it as an actual treatment step, not just tidying up. Vacuum carpets, rugs, and any upholstery your cat touches at least twice a week during flea season. And empty the canister or bag into a sealed bag outside immediately afterward, because eggs and larvae can survive and hatch right back out of the vacuum otherwise. The trick most people miss is the edges and under furniture, since flea larvae actively avoid light and crawl toward baseboards and dark corners rather than sitting out in the open middle of the floor. The fifth step is diatomaceous earth, used the cat-safe way, and this is where I want you to be more careful than you would with a dog. Food-grade diatomaceous earth is genuinely effective on carpets, in cracks along the floor, and in bedding once your cat is off it, left for a few days, and then vacuumed up thoroughly. Where cat owners should be cautious is putting it directly and heavily onto the cat's coat, since cats groom themselves constantly and can inhale or ingest far more of the fine dust than a dog typically would through licking. The trick is keeping diatomaceous earth mainly to the environment around your cat, rather than the cat itself, and talking to your vet first if you're considering any direct application to the coat. The sixth step moves outside, to the yard and garden, and here the natural tools genuinely are safe to use freely. Food-grade diatomaceous earth sprinkled around garden beds and shaded areas where your cat spends time outdoors works the same way it does indoors, and beneficial nematodes, tiny microscopic organisms you water into the soil, are a real well-documented way to reduce flea larvae in the yard itself without any chemical involved. Keeping grass mowed short and clearing brush piles near the house also cuts down on the damp, shaded spots both fleas and ticks favor. This part of the system really is as safe around kids and garden beds as advertised because none of it touches the cat directly. The seventh step is ticks specifically, since they need their own approach, separate from fleas. Run your hands over your cat after any time outdoors, checking especially around the ears, neck, and between the toes, since ticks favor warm, hidden spots. If you find one attached, use fine-tipped tweezers, grasp it as close to the skin as you can, and pull straight up with steady, even pressure. No twisting, no squeezing the body. Clean the bite site afterward and keep an eye on it over the following days. The trick is speed. Checking daily during tick season catches most of them before they've been attached long enough to pass anything along. The eighth and final step is knowing when this whole system needs backup from an actual vet-approved preventative. If fleas or ticks keep coming back despite consistent combing, washing, and vacuuming, that's the point to talk to your vet about a cat-specific preventative product, the kind formulated and dosed specifically for a cat's body rather than borrowed from anywhere else. There's no failure in reaching that point. It just means the environment alone isn't enough this season, and a properly labeled cat-safe product is the right next tool, not a stronger version of anything homemade. Those are the 8 steps. Never a dog product on a cat, full stop. A flea comb used daily during bad seasons. Bedding washed weekly in hot water. Vacuuming treated as an actual step, not a chore. Diatomaceous earth kept mainly to the environment rather than piled on the coat. Nematodes and DE genuinely safe in the yard and garden. Careful daily tick checks and the correct way to remove one. And a vet-approved preventative as the real backup when the environment alone isn't holding the line. Here's the bigger picture, and it's what I want you to actually remember. This was never about finding one miracle spray. The barn cats in my family that stay healthiest year after year don't belong to anyone with a fancier remedy. They belong to whoever combs and washes and vacuums without fail week after week, whether or not they see a flea that day. That boring consistency does more than any single product ever could. So here's what I want you to do tonight. Not next week, tonight. Run a flea comb through your cat once, right now if you have one, just to see honestly what you're dealing with. If you don't have one yet, that's your one thing to pick up this week before anything else on this list. Tell me in the comments whether your cat spends time outdoors and what your worst flea or tick season has looked like. I read every single one. Next time, I'm going to show you the one hiding spot in a house flea's retreat to that no amount of vacuuming ever reaches on its own, and what it actually takes to clear it out.